Hi, Elizabeth Jane. Thank you so much for being on the Positively Joy podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Yvette. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you. So, because my audience might notice an accent, where are you in the world?
I'm in kangaroo country over in in Australia,
I love
Sydney,
it.
Australia.
I love it. I love it that we can talk just, to people all over the world. It's just so awesome. And we're gonna have a great conversation tonight. I'm going to talk about your story. We're storytellers on this podcast. That's what we are, and we learn through the stories that we tell about ourselves. And so that's what we're going to do today. And we're going to talk about heartbreak, and we're going to talk about divorce, but how we can learn from that and how we can really kind of bring ourselves back into deep healing and self leadership. So I'm super excited about that.
Yes, so am I.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll get going and, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, and then we'll hear a little bit more from you about this.
Well, thanks, Yvette. My story is I thought I had it all, Yvette, because I had four healthy children, and they were nearly adults, and the picket fence, we had the house, and we living in a beautiful country, and everyone's healthy and happy. And then it all hits me. My husband announces that out of the blue, that he'd like a divorce, and my whole world crashes down around me. Um,
No.
I'm initially just in so much shock because it just doesn't seem real. It just doesn't seem real or right. Or, I had these visions of grandchildren and rocking in the rocking chair. We've been together 25 years. We were married 25 years and together 28 years. And, um, and I'm heading to India because I've been doing sort of wellness workshops, which culminate with going to India. And I thought, well, when I come back from my 2 weeks in India, he'll be over his male menopause, and it'll all be roses. But it wasn't.
Wow. It was not, huh?
It wasn't. And so I went into a roller coaster of emotions, from anger, deep grief. But I've always been, what got me out of bed in those early days was I was thinking, well, divorce is such a common thing. And I've always been, into uplifting people. And so I thought, well, gosh, I really need to work out what uplifts me, what is going to help me get out of the hole that I'm in. And so that's when my book, Free and First, Unlocking Your Ultimate Life, organically started to grow as I started to work out what was working and what was not working, what was helping me and what was hindering me, and making choices every day to choose things that brought me joy and to say no to things that didn't. And so that's what really started to. So in the early days, it was just having a list on the fridge of things to just uplift me, whether it was ring a friend or go and skip in the garden, like go and skip or do something silly, listen to a funny song, dance to a funny song, whatever it was that uplifted me. And then as I got deeper on my journey, I developed other tools, which I talk about in my book, to really lift our mood or our vibration into one of joy and peace, and yes, and to be able to learn how to let go of the heavy emotions that often burden us and hold us back from really shining bright.
You mentioned that you had been in the position of helping others for so long. And how did it feel to be in this new position of trying to help yourself? That must have felt a little strange.
Yes, well, yes, I think we know we're always learning and we're all evolving. We're all on the yellow brick road. Sometimes I say, we're all we're all trying our best. And when I was hit with this snowball, so to speak, it really brought me to the realization that it was, at the time I didn't see it, but now I realize it was a massive opportunity. The obstacle is the opportunity. the bigger the challenge. You don't see it at the time. Well, I didn't anyway. You think, oh no, not another challenge. What have I done wrong? But the challenge is the obstacle is the opportunity, the kindle wood to really lift up and grow. I sort of get more curious now and I look for the lessons. My lesson was, okay, Elizabeth, you have to stop people pleasing and you really need to put yourself first. And I go, no, I can't put myself first. That's really selfish. That's selfish. I've got my 4 children, I've got my husband, I've got my elderly parents. No, I've got everything I need, but wasn't meeting my needs. I was meeting the needs, ironically, of my children and my husband, and I'd sidelined my needs. So my book is about stepping back and really making sure that, as the stewards say on the plane, that we're putting our mask on first before we're helping others. Because if we're not in a good mood, in a joyful mood, we're not blazing joy. We're blazing grumpiness or sadness or anger. But then I realized, but that's not being authentic. Like we still need to be, this is the key I found. The key thing is to be able to stop from our busyness, stop in our day and feel how we feel. And if we don't feel joyful, acknowledge it. If we feel anger, acknowledge it. And that's one of my big tools in my book is the ABC of me. Acknowledging how we feel, because if we don't, we're just holding that anger or that sadness in us. It's a big weight. It's a big weight to hold it. And I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm joyful. I'm joyful. But it's really important to go, hey, I'm not. I'm angry, but I'm really sad today. Actually, I'm really sad, and to be with that emotion, because when we're with it, we give it the opportunity to move on, and we feel lighter. We feel lighter. My grandmother would say, "Have a good cry, you'll feel better after it. Have a good cry. Go to bed and sleep on it. I know you've got all the problems of the shoulders of the world. But go to bed, and when you wake up, you're in a better, higher mood, and you sometimes know, gosh, I do need to have that conversation with my employer. Do need to have that conversation, that empowered conversation with my child about what's bothering me. I can't people please anymore. I can't walk along eggshells. Oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Because that builds up within us. I really had to work on my self-care and build my confidence and really be brave and vulnerable to say how I felt, the truth of how I felt. But and as I felt into the truth, I started to build me and find me, really.
So, a question for you real quick. This journey to you. Now, first of all, I don't want to say that if you had learned these lessons or applied these tools during your marriage, it would have saved the marriage. I'm not saying that. But do you think that these tools, and we're talking to women who are, experiencing this kind of grief, going through perhaps separation and divorce that's going to help them. But it sounds like these tools will continue to help them into their future, like as you said, maybe a job or maybe even into future relationships?
100%, Yvette. These tools of my book, I sort of say, our challenges come in 3 baskets. And some of us in the world right now have got the 3 baskets. So it's relationship, personal, or business. It's health, and it's financial. I mean, that's how I sort of break it down. Maybe it's my chartered accounting, my primary school teaching, but I think I wanted a toolkit. I wanted to write a book about how the tools about when we build us, then we reflect a better world. So it's an internal job. It's a job where we have to stop from our busyness and really reflect and reset, like even in the early days, some deep breathing to calm our nervous system calms us. And so therefore we can think more clearly and we're not as likely to react to a situation. When we react to a situation, we build a bomb of negative energy. We see that with road rage. One angry driver and they end up colliding. So if we sort ourselves first, it takes, it's baby steps. You can't climb Mount Everest. We have to congratulate ourselves as we take a step forward, as we choose things that are helping us rather than things that are hurting us, and we start making baby steps or up the ladder. And then it reflects with our children because they get to surf our higher vibe. We lift up, we go up the ladder, we lift up and we radiate, and our kids benefit, our parents, our friends, they all benefit. And so the work we do benefits ourselves first, our kids, friends, and ultimately, I believe, humanity.
I see. So I know that, this didn't just come to you immediately. And I think that there are women who one of the things that they may say is, when am I going to get over this? How long will I have to go through this? So how long would you say it took you to learn some of the tools that you're teaching women now?
So for me, it happened so subtly, like I'd have bad days and good days, and I'm thinking, well, this is just like still a roller coaster. I mean, I'm having time out, walking in nature and doing all the right things, trying to eat healthily. And initially, I didn't, of course. I'd be, drinking the vodka bottles, drinking, getting up to mischief, trying to douse to numb how I felt. But then I realized that was counterproductive because it was just not allowing myself to feel how I felt. And then I couldn't set those feelings free. So it's what it does is it sort of goes down, but the graph's going up. The graph goes up overall. I think it requires, being kind to yourself is the biggest thing I could say to your listeners and viewers, to be kind to yourself, especially on days that you're in the ditch. And there will be days you're in the ditch and you say, oh, look, I'm in the ditch today. So you put yourself first and just what can you do? What 10 minutes can you take from your day? Because I hear you'll be saying, I haven't got time for that. I haven't got time for that. I've got this. My to-do list is just forever long. Find 10 minutes when you're in the queue at the supermarket, when you're at the traffic lights. Take some deep belly breaths and slowly release all the stuff that's like with you at the moment, whether it's deep sadness, whether it's anger, whether it's all of the above, whether it's non-forgiveness, whatever is holding you heavy. And 2 minutes, if we set our phones for 2 minutes, it can really uplift us. It can put us in a totally different place. 2 minutes of deep breathing can really calm your nervous system and really assist you to be able to think clearly and get you on the right track to feeling good.
So thank you for acknowledging and being just a little transparent with us about, sometimes how you might try to numb yourself through a lot of different things. I know that there was a time in my faith walk in particular, which is different for everybody, where I know I was just going through the motions. I felt numb. So thank you for that and for allowing people to know that, that their path, while everyone's path is unique, they're not doing anything wrong. Their feelings aren't wrong. You know what I mean?
No, exactly not. I mean, I think I write. I know I write about it in my book that our feelings are our superheroes or guardian angels. They're telling us that something is not right. So if we're feeling anger, or if we need to have that empowered conversation with whoever is causing us grief, we need to stand up and go, "Hey, this behavior is not on." If we don't stand up, we're enabling bad behavior. I believe we're enabling it. Keeping quiet is, you have to be brave. But when I learnt to stand up, when I taught myself to, okay, I'm going to stand up to this, then it helps everyone involved. It helps everyone, because the bad behavior can't go on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so it's really important to stand up for it, I think. Yeah.
Mm. So, the title of the show is going to be from broken to brave. And I'd like to spend the rest of our time talking a little bit about the book and some of the takeaways. So what can we take away from your book, and tell us, how we can find it?
Okay, so I wrote the book quite succinctly because I remember someone throwing me a book on boundaries, and it was so profuse. And I thought, I can't get through this. I'm not in the position to, I'm just getting lost in it. So I wanted a book that you could open on a page and get something out of it. I wanted a book that had little summaries, and my paintings that I painted are summarized what I say in each chapter. That just happened organically, actually. The paintings came in first and the book later, and then I realized that it all matched in. So
Do we
my book,
see some paintings behind you? Is that your painting behind you?
so that's when I was on book tour in the in Italy last year, and I painted the smallest town in Italy. So that's a Trani, where I spent a lot of time in that little village, and it really resonated with me. So I painted it.
It's beautiful.
Yes, but so anyway, so going, but the takeaways from my book is the ABC of me. A, acknowledge how you feel. B, boundaries, set the boundaries, communication of the boundaries. Follow the ABC and we'll be free. But the biggest stumbling block that I found, as we've touched on, is most of the people in the world I know are very, very busy. We're all human doings, and we need to be human.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say, I got that. Human doings. I like that. Not human beings.
And guess what? Whoa, we've forgotten. We've forgotten that we are human beings. And when we're in our beingness, we're very powerful. We know what we need, and we know our truth about us. And we know we're not the should have, could have, would have, all the negative stuff, whatever form that comes in for you. We're not that. And we can remind ourselves by just taking some deep breaths, walking in nature, feeling into how we feel, and choosing to stand up about how we feel and communicate that. Following the ABC will be free. And there's other tools in my book that will lift you. So gratitude, I know that's been, I'm sure you've talked about gratitude, on your podcast. The more we are grateful for, the more we attract in to be grateful, that we're grateful about. So it's a win-win. We wake up in the morning, start the list. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful to be here on planet Earth. I'm grateful for whatever it is, the air I breathe, the fresh water I am able to drink. And then we will get more abundance coming in. Forgiveness has got a whole chapter in my book. Forgiveness is a really important one. Fake it until you make it. If you can't forgive your ex, of course, at the early stages I was in shock. I couldn't forgive him, but now I realize he gave me the gift of finding me, of finding that I wasn't just this role of mother, of wife, of daughter, that I had to put myself first before all these roles. Yes, that, I'd lost myself in those roles. I'd lost me as to what I needed. We come into this planet and we leave, we come in by ourselves and we leave by ourselves. We need to really put ourselves first, because then we're in a position to help others. And we need to really fill our cup first. So there's gratitude, forgiveness has got a chapter, self-care has got a chapter, but all the theme of the book is how to empower yourself. So it's the challenges that come, no matter what form, whether they're relationship-based, health-based, financial-based, or all three. You've got tools and a manual to navigate life and to actually see those challenges as ways of like really powering up. And another thing I talk about is coming in when you're feeling yucky. It's often when we're lost in our thoughts. We're either lost in the past, should have, could have, would have, shame, blame game, or we're lost in the future, fantasy future, fearing, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? What? And we blow up all this negativity. So if we can come back, power up by coming into the present, by breathing. We don't have to be yogi meditation, but we just have to come into the present. My hobby can bring us, my painting, my writing brings me into the now. Anything, could be stamp collecting, could be anything. Doesn't matter, but anything you're mindful on powers up our energy and it lifts us. It lifts us into a much better place. And we can do that instantly, choice points. We can go, oh, actually, I'm feeling really yucky right now. I'm just going to just nick into the bathroom and do a couple of deep breaths and connect to the real me rather than the sad me or the angry me. I'm going to just reset.
So, I always say there's no time like the present. So I would love for us to just take a few seconds now and do a couple of deep breaths. Can you lead us through that?
Yes, sure. That's easy. Yes. Okay, so if we're in a comfortable position and we're just totally chilled out, and close our eyes if you feel comfortable, and just imagine, just use your imagination as best you can, that you're under a beautiful, teeming waterfall. You're under a waterfall, you're in nature, and it's a hot day, so the water is just absolutely so invigorating, and it's pouring down on top of your head, on top of your crown, and it's just flushing through every part of you and flushing out what we don't need. It's just going into Mother Earth, all that sadness, all that anger, all those fears and insecurities, just being washed away, cleansed, and just washed into Mother Earth. We're breathing it in and we're slowly releasing all that we don't need. And we're focusing in on what we love into our heart, into the middle of just into our heart. And we're focusing in and breathing in and letting go of all that we don't need. And we can continue this for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just gently releasing, slowly releasing, and then breathing in. Imagine breathing in all that we love, love, peace, joy, oneness, harmony, good health, bringing all that in, and then releasing all that we don't need into Mother Earth.
That was very refreshing, and I hope our listeners took a moment to do that if you can. If you weren't able to right that moment, play this back and do that. And, I love that idea of breath. So many people can take it lots of different ways, but, on the show, we also believe in the breath of life and the breath that the Lord gives us. So I love that. And we can apply that in all the different areas, where we are, like where we actually are right now. So that was really lovely. Thank you so much for that. So tell us where we can find your book and tell us where we can find you online.
Yes. So my book is easier to get on elizabethjane.com and .au. We need the AU for Australia. So it's elizabethjane.com.au, and I'm about to release a second edition of my book, actually, which will be a bright yellow and pink cover. So very sunny, very joyous. And yes, so because that's going to be released hopefully more around the world in different languages, and soon will be on Audible. So watch out for that. But all my podcasts and interviews around the world are put onto my Facebook and Instagram, which can be found through my website. Yes. So elizabethjane.life is my Instagram. And with that meditation, Yvette, you can call in Jesus or whatever your faith is. Call them in. They're, your guardian angels, your angels, they're all there. They're all going, they're all there around us all the time. Once we acknowledge them, we can actually bring them in, and that energy is just, it's very strong. And, everyone, we all deserve an amazing, peaceful, joyous life. And yes.
Well, thank you so much. Again, this was invigorating, and thank you for the tools. Definitely encourage everyone to get the book, just so that it's basically another set of tools in our toolbox as we are going through this. And we're all on different journeys. We're in different parts of the journey, and so everyone's journey is a little bit different. But we can learn from each other, which is why I love talking to women on this show. And so, yeah, definitely encourage you to get that book. And I'll have all of this in our show notes and the links to make it easy for people. Elizabeth, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on from the other part of the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you to all your viewers and listeners. And have an amazing. I've got the day ahead, but have an amazing evening.